Hello, everybody. Good evening. I think I'm on my personal page. To those of you that do not know me, my name is Marina, and welcome to my page. I am a mentor for spiritual and creative entrepreneurs. I like to call myself the Big Vision Whisperer. I am the translator between your big vision and actionable steps in your current reality. Some people call me the translator, the bridger between the spiritual and the logical realm. And the kind of things that I do with my clients are a mixture of energetic foundations in setting their foundations for their big visions, in addition to creating business foundations for their big visions. So today I am talking about the biggest misconception about manifestation, about this thing that we've been fed in the spiritual community that a lot of my clients are coming from, and perhaps my prospects that have been overfed this amount of information when it comes to creating your dreams, creating your desires, whether it be financial, whether it be your business, whatever it might be. We have been overfed this notion of being passive, of relaxing too much into whatever the universe allows us and wherever the universe wants us to go, rather than taking the reins and utilizing the universe as your beautiful horse that will take you wherever you want to go. I just wrote a post about this, and I love relating this whole notion with horses because as I am creating my business and as I help my clients create their big visions, one of the biggest things that I've learned through my time over the last 2 years of learning with different mentors, and developing this business, is that it really takes both. It takes action, and it takes strategy, and it takes energetic foundation and inner work. It really does take both, but it takes a coalescence of both of them, and it takes an embodiment of both of these energies, right? So whoever is watching, please say hi because I can't see who it is. But I just wrote a post about this that I want to bring to your attention, of what it actually means to be not a passive rider, but rather somebody that takes the reins, and takes control of where they want their horse to go. You see, the horses are, I like to call them the man's best slave. They have served humanity up until now in such a beautiful, selfless way, and they're such willing animals. So I like to use this analogy, especially what I've learned over, as I coalesce the messages of action and this like go energy with really creating unshakable inner foundations where you can lean in on yourself and you always have your back. What I've learned with horses, and especially infusing them into this analogy, is they are very willing. They are super, super willing animals, and they work best under direct and alpha type of, not control, but loving type of, how would I put this? Not even exertion, direction. Under loving direction. And they will take you wherever you want to go. They will gallop for hours without needing hay. They will gallop for hours without ever needing water or anything like that. They are super willing animals, and they've gone through hell and back, and they will, and that's what they do. They are very quick to bend to our will. And they're powerful as fuck. They could kill us at any point in time. And I like to infuse this analogy with manifestation because, like I said, we've been overfed this information of being the passive rider, of being just like, oh, let me just wait on the energy and check in on the energy of where the universe wants to take me. And this, it presents a little bit of a danger, if you will. If you think back to like the horse analogy, if you are just sitting there as a passive observer, your horse is going to go all over the place. If your reins are flaccid and if you're slouching in the saddle, the horse is going to go and eat whatever flowers it wants. The horse is going to go and gallop and react to anything and everything because that's what they do. Horses are very reactive animals. If you gather up, and they're very responsive to like pretty much instant emotional biofeedback. The minute that you exude a sense of confidence whenever you ride, the minute you exude this energy of unshakable alpha-ness just by being in that presence around them, they will bend to your will at any point in time. And Michael is watching. He knows horses. He can attest to this. Horses are very keen on energy. And a lot of horseback riding, it's not just knowing the techniques of where to put your legs and how to hold the hands and how to sit upright in the saddle. They are also very energetically keen. So in utilizing this method or analogy in manifestation, like I said, we've been way overfed this flaccid rein approach to how we get to the direction of your dreams. Imagine this: if you're getting into a car and you don't know where you're going and your car just self-drives itself into whatever gas station it wants. That's essentially what people are doing whenever they don't direct their own internal compass and their own external compass of how do I drive the horse, how do I drive this car so the car just doesn't go into wherever the hell it wants. Whenever we sit back and just allow the universe to do whatever and just allow the universe to take us for a ride, that's essentially what people do. And that's what happens with horseback riding. I've guided a lot of trail rides where I have seen people slouch in the saddle, where I have seen people just take pictures and let the horse go wherever, and the horse reacts to the nearest sign of danger, and the horse goes and eats whatever flowers it wants. It's not a very smooth ride. There's no harmony, and we're not going towards the same kind of purpose. The horse is just following the butt of the horse in front of it. Is that what you want to do? We're being asked energetically, and those of you who are entrepreneurial, spiritual, I'm sure if you are watching this, you probably are. We're being asked to embody a new sense of leadership that is loving and compassionate, but also conveys the sense of alpha without having to exert, without having to push, without having to hustle. A great horseback rider will never ever have to use whips or spurs, or will never ever have to use any notion of pain towards the horse to get it to do what they want to do. Whenever you see an amazing horseback rider, especially in the Olympic setting, what you would see them do is very quiet. You don't see their hands move. You don't see their legs move. You don't see their body being all over the place in the saddle. You see them very, not stoic, but very still, very assured, and they take on this certain stance in the saddle. And this is what a lot of my clients now are getting to. Those of you that have followed me for the last few weeks, you've heard me speak ad nauseum about market research and sending the right business foundations. One of the things now, as we have done this heavy lifting, what's really important is to really come into this embodiment of this vision. Now that you have gotten this proof on paper of what you're working towards, and now that you have gotten your resume of your skill set, of the market research and all of the things that you know what you're doing, you have gotten this clarity of the vision, it is time to assume that stance. And this is one of the steps in my coalesce process. Usually happens around week 5, which is amazing because my clients are now getting on sales calls, are shamelessly reaching out to prospects, and it's freaking amazing. This is the most rewarding thing to witness, and this is the most powerful manifestation tool that I could ever teach anybody, is really embody that rider in the saddle, is really embody somebody who very gracefully takes control without having to exert it, by just being that in the saddle. However, I had to teach them how to be in the saddle at first, because at first they were slouching, at first they were awkward, at first they didn't know which side of the saddle to get onto the horse, at first they didn't know, like, how do I even hold the reins, what kind of boots do I even wear whenever I get on, right? And mind you, I'm speaking metaphorically when it comes to building somebody's business. This is the kind of heavy lifting initially that we were first doing by going on a scavenger hunt for what it is that their genius is, doing the market research, getting that really big sense of clarity, creating a process, creating an offer that's super creative. A lot of this legwork that we've been doing, some of my clients have been moaning about it, but once it was done, there is a certain sense that happened that my clients are like, yeah, I understand exactly why and how this is valuable, and how I should go now and go ahead and live my purpose and skip out of my place super stoked to go do so, and feel that a $5,000 price tag is actually cheap. So a lot of that has happened prior by doing this kind of heavy legwork to eliminate imposter syndrome and gain clarity. This, however, is the most powerful step of the process, is to learn how to ride the horse of manifestation. Because a lot of times people are very passive about it, and I have been overfed this information of you should just sit on the horse and wait until the horse takes you wherever. Being a horseback rider myself, you guys, this is very dangerous. It's very dangerous. And one thing that I teach people, well, it's not dangerous in life. I mean, the horse is going to take you wherever, depending on the kind of horse you're riding anyway. But if you want to create a more smooth ride that is not only pleasurable, but also fast, and you're staying in the saddle and you're not like panting because you're just hanging on for dear life, it does take both. It does take both creation of clarity and foundation and tilling your soil, if you will, of these ground level type foundations of how you develop your business and your vision. It does take that kind of legwork. It's almost like working out before a marathon. Like you have to lift some weights. You have to put on those boots and the chaps and the helmet before you get on the horse. You have to know how to brush the horse. You have to know how to approach the horse, right? And this is what I call the heavy lifting part, the market research part, the offer creation part, the daunting task of getting on the phone with like 20 people just to talk to them, just to figure out what it is that they're struggling with. And now that we've done this, you guys, this is where the fun part happens. And there's a lot of unlearning that happens with my clients because a lot of them have come from the spiritual background of passive manifestation. And the quickest manifestation that can happen is by you actually assuming the alpha stance in the creation of your vision and your life. Assuming the alpha stance in the saddle by sitting up straight and asking the horse what you want it to do. Grabbing those reins, making them a little tighter, and digging your heels in and telling that horse to go, and telling it where to go. This is the other notion when it comes to manifestation. A lot of people are afraid to create deadlines. I will share a story with you about manifestation that has happened to me 2 weeks ago. I was in a financial bind where I had to create a certain amount for my mentor. And I was like, by Monday, I was like, there was no way in hell that I'm going to be able to do that. But I set out my manifestation intention to create a certain amount of cash by a deadline, and it was non-negotiable. Like it had to happen or else. Because whenever you're being placed with that kind of a condition, like if you have to get on a horse to go save a life, you're going to go. You're going to stay in the saddle. You're going to gallop. You're going to figure out how to ride. And this is essentially what I had to do to figure out manifestation. But lucky for you, in my programs, I teach you how to do this a little smoother than I had to do this. Anyway, so I had to set a deadline by which to come up with a certain amount of cash. Even by Wednesday, my chances of this happening looked very slim. I was like, how in the fuck is this going to happen? Like, I have no idea. I had this sense of like, I have to come up with something. I was at my laptop, had to create a sale, go do massages. I mean, I had to do something. I'm like, this is going to have to happen. I don't know how, but I'm sending my everything into it. Like, it's going to happen, and I'm doing it. And so what happened was I got the intuitive hit to go drive for an hour to get my favorite latte, got supremely caffeinated and inspired, had somebody reach out to me and booked a sales call, had somebody else be on a live stream that I did earlier in the day, who then I reached out to. Turns out she messaged me from a while ago, and the message I completely missed, and she was interested in one of my programs. So I was like, okay then. The reason why I tell you guys that story is it took both for me. It took both this like employment of actionable alpha energy as well as trust. Whenever you're riding a horse, you have to have a certain amount of actionable alpha energy, but you also have to trust that the horse is not just going to kill you. Like, it's a very symbiotic relationship, and the horse is very powerful, and so is the universe. And the horse is very, very willing animal, and it will bend its everything to your will. It will do whatever you ask it to do, as long as you ask in just the right way. The balance of infusing this whole manifestation thing with the equestrian analogy. To those of you that are watching, if you have ridden horses and if you have been around horses, you know that this kind of threshold and this balance is very delicate. And this is something that I lead with in my Coalesce programs whenever I teach people how to embody this alpha stance of being a badass business owner, of having your vision, but also leading from the stance of compassion, of being alpha in your saddle, but also leading from the stance of assuredness and loving compassion. So embodiment and taking up space. I feel like I covered that already. And birthing your vision. I have notes for this because I usually go off on tangents. But to conclude, you guys, like one of the biggest reasons why I popped on and wanted to state this is because a lot of my clients are finding this very, not difficult, but actually like exciting to hop into this new reality of active rider into the direction of your dreams rather than a passive passenger. And when you first start doing it, yeah, it's very awkward. And some of the things that I do with my clients, we state things out loud. I ask them to tell their family, their friends of what it is that they do now to really create this kind of like authoritative embodiment of your vision. Of if you are, for instance, one of my clients is a pre, during, and postpartum mentor. She just took this exercise and ran with it. She's making business cards. She's telling all her friends. She's shouting her goals from the top of the rooftops, essentially. She's going and telling communities of other doulas and other pre and postnatal workers and mentors, if you will, of what she's doing and sharing her mission and doing everything possible to really embody what it is that she's doing now. To really embody this person, to really take up space and be this alpha in her field, kind of like an alpha in the saddle. By assuming that kind of stance, she is rocking it, you guys. She has manifested a prospect within minutes of creating an offer for this prospect. And I know for a fact that she is about to get a sale. I just know it and feel it and I see it in her. And this is what we do, you guys, in my Coalesce process. It has taken a lot of heavy lifting. It has taken a lot of clarity, and it has taken a lot of process and foundational type work. And then now we infuse it and coalesce it with this energetic stance of how you then show up in the saddle into the direction of your dreams. How do you guide your horse from here on out, now that you are learning how to ride and are becoming more and more confident to the point where you can command manifestations as opposed to just sitting back and being on a flaccid rein and slouching in your saddle. On that note, you guys, there's only 5 weeks left in 2019, and that's plenty and more to create your first or next 5 or 10K in business. With this process, personally, I have gone through the school of strategy and the school of intuition and flow, and the biggest thing I've learned is you can't have one or the other. You have to have both. There's no way to ride the horse with just technique alone, and there's no way to ride the horse without assuming the alpha stance of belief and trust in the horse that it's actually going to listen to you, because otherwise it's not going to, and it can kill you. Like I said, I love infusing this equestrian analogy. There's only 5 weeks left, you guys, and it's more than plenty to create this kind of authoritative ride into 2020 and really show up on New Year's Eve and know that you have already achieved a lot. A lot of people are already discounting 2019 as if it's already passed. There's 5 weeks left, you guys, and a lot can happen in 5 weeks. You can learn how to ride the horse into the direction of your vision with the proper foundations, with the proper weightlifting, with the proper saddle fitting, and I shall be your riding instructor, and with the right energetic foundations to know and believe that your vision is indeed going to come true, and it's unshakable and it's non-negotiable. And that's the kind of stuff that we do in Coalesce. I do have a couple slots left, one for intensive and one for immersive before the end of the year, and then I'm capped for my clients for the year. I'm going to go ahead and drop my link over here below. It doesn't cost you anything to talk to me to see if this program is for you. It is not industry specific. I work with a loan officer, I work with a birth doula, I work with a videographer, I work with an interior designer, and I just started working with a permaculture specialist. It is not industry specific, you guys. This kind of process of creating business foundations and energetic foundations works for manifestation of any kind of vision. But as I said, consider me your translator from your big vision into actionable steps of how to go ahead and create the physical foundation of it into this right now. So go ahead, book that call. Let's talk about how I can help you create this vision before 2019 is over with the proper foundations, with the proper saddle fitting, so that you're not just flopping into 2020, falling off the horse, still not knowing how to ride for the however many New Year's resolution in a row. 2020 is to be your year. So whoever has joined me, I thank you for joining. On this note, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I hope you have a beautiful evening and enjoyed this horsey analogy of not being a passive rider, but rather taking a more authoritative stance into the direction of your dreams. And I'm here to help you do that. I'll talk to you guys soon. If you wish to talk to me about how I can help you, go ahead and book that call. I dropped the link. It doesn't cost you anything to talk to me. And I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.